In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through a session I did with my U12 team on receiving the ball under pressure. For some context, I designed this session for my U12 team that has just started playing futsal for the first time. So one thing they're struggling with is that when they receive the pass, they're not really sure of the amount of pressure on them, because in futsal, you're definitely under pressure pretty much all the time because of the 4v4 that's going on the field. You basically are always marked man-to-man and under pressure. So a lot of the time they're feeling like they're under pressure and try to play maybe too fast or rush a clearance up the field. And really they have time to take a touch and maybe play out from the pressure instead of forcing a pass. So the first activity of the training session is just a 2v2 here in the half field. For scale, this is a full-size futsal field, okay, and then we have the rectangles here for the goal on the left and the right. We have 4 yellows, okay, 2 in each corner, and then we have 4 blues, 2 in each of these corners. So basically we're playing a 2v2. So the first person in line here for each team in each corner is playing. So these 2 blues are playing and these 2 yellows are playing. Black dot here is the coach. The coach starts with the ball and then can play the ball to any of the 4 players. So whoever the coach passes the ball to first, that is the team that is attacking to this goal here on the left. So if the coach plays out to a yellow player, yellow is now attacking this goal and the 2 blues become the defenders. If blue wins the ball, they are now attacking the opposite goal on the opposite side. This is to keep it more game realistic and keep in the transitional phase of counterattacking. So we see here that yellow has received the ball. Like I said, the main focus of this session is the first touch to realize whether you're under pressure or not. Notice that we start as far away from each other as possible in the 4 corners of the field. Yellow should always realize that they have a lot of time and very little pressure on the ball. So their first touch needs to be into space, preferably away from the defender of the opposite team, and then try to get their head up and either find a pass or beat the defender 1v1. So here we see they take a little dribble towards the middle of the field. Blue comes across to defend, and this blue is trying to recover here onto this yellow off the corner, and we find the pass and score. Then the rotations are pretty simple. You go to the opposite corner from where you started. So the yellow that started in this corner will go across, the blue that started in this corner will go across, and the same on the other side. So here we see the rotation, ball back to the coach, next players in line step up. Here we play a pass out to blue in the opposite corner here. Now again, their constraints are basically the sideline and end line around them, right? Remember I talked about I'm playing with first-time futsal players, so they don't have the best control over the ball. So these boundaries just here are somewhat of a constraint for these players. Okay, and again, now we're looking at their first touch. Can they take it into space and away from any oncoming defenders? Right here, this player freezes and stays there, but yellow is shifting across, okay, covering the goal, and we can find this split pass in the goal in here. This is another thing that I like about the starting positions, and here we'll see the rotation again. This is one thing I like about the starting positions in this 2v2, is if you're starting diagonally across from your teammate, you're looking for these diagonal passes that are naturally splitting the 2 defenders. Okay, and for another example here, we play short out to the blue player. All right, he doesn't really go into space or take a good first touch, so now he's under a little bit of pressure. And like I said earlier, if yellow wins the ball back, now they are attacking the goal on the opposite side of the field, and they can score. So now some progressions. Like I said earlier, we're starting in these 4 corners here, so we're as far away with as much space as possible. Like I said, just the natural boundaries of the sidelines and end lines are constraints enough to force their first touch to be decent, and then we want them to make the correct decision. But once they start to get the hang of that and get the first touch, we then want to apply a little bit more pressure. So what we can do is we can adjust the starting positions. So here we bring the starting positions a lot closer in towards the middle of the field. What happens now is if we were to play the ball short here to yellow, okay, now blue has a lot closer angle to close down this yellow player than as if they started in the opposite corner. So now they have to be a little bit more careful with their first touch, because if it's too bad of a first touch, then either of these blue players are probably close enough to pick up on it. The next progression here would be to move these players out wide. So now you don't have an easy outlet straight close to the goal, right? So before, if we played the yellow, they had an outlet right next to the goal to pass to. But here now, we're up the sideline a little bit more, so there's easier way to pressure from either side, from blue over here, or if blue comes over here. Okay, so it's all, these new starting positions are just all about making them a little bit closer, a little bit tighter, and giving them different passing angles to work with. The final progression then, which you probably don't get to in one practice, because that's a lot of progressions for one drill, is to then shift the players onto the same side of the field. So now if I played a yellow, we don't have that pass that goes across the middle of the field to the goal. We played a yellow here, and then we have to pass out wide again, which will increase the pressure that's coming across the field straight at them, while also still blocking the goal. So after this 2v2 drill, I would move into a full-sided 4v4 for futsal. And also to add, if you have enough players to add in keepers and big goals, that's great. Do that. So now to start with, on the full-sided futsal game, we're playing our four players on the field. Okay, these are still small goals. But the first constraint here is that the defending team can only bring one player. So if blue has the ball, the defending team can only bring one player into the other half of the field. This is just to start with light pressure so that blue knows that they can basically always play around one defender. So they'll have the confidence that, hey, we can pass the ball, take a touch, and then look up to play the next pass. Then once they get into the attacking half, then they realize, hey, we might be under a bit more pressure. Now we might need to speed up our passing and make quicker decisions. But while we're not under pressure in our own half, we can slow it down and focus on making good passes. So here's an example. We have one yellow defender here in the blue half and the three yellow defenders in the other half. So now blue knows, hey, we can play around to keep possession if we need to. An obvious way to increase pressure here then would be to allow two defenders at the same time coming across into one half. So now you know, hey, we can still outnumber them 4v2, but you have to be careful that there might be a little bit more pressure than what we had before. And again, all of this is just focusing on, when we pass the ball, do you have pressure on you or not, right? So if this player is receiving this pass out here, does he have pressure? Not right away, because he knows they can't cross. But if he were to receive the ball over here, now he knows, hey, there's probably going to be a lot of pressure on me when I receive this ball. So if he receives it here, although this isn't game realistic, at least maybe he can take this touch backwards into his own half and get away from the pressure. Finally, I would just finish with a normal full-sided 4v4, no rules on where you can pressure and where you can't, just to finish off with the game. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please leave any feedback in the comments.